Hi, this is Nick here from OnlyFabs, and today's video is about Prism. It's a due time, but this is the first time that somebody actually came up with a build that won an entire event, but piqued my interest because it's aggro. And I always said what's most annoying when Prism goes Herald, Herald, and dishes out that constant 14 damage a turn, which annoys me to no end as a Visual OTK player.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you could do a short introduction, Renee, maybe tell something about your background.
Yeah, sure. René Heine from the Netherlands, owner of TCG Collectibles, also owner of TCG Collectibles team for Flesh and Blood.
And sponsored
by? Ultimate Guard and Okie Dokie Dice. So massive shout out to them. We've been live for about 5.5 years now. I myself have been playing card games since 18 or 19 years now, and decided to create the shop because we started selling so much that we kind of needed to have a shop. So that is the main reason, and I take great pride and pleasure in it now.
Yeah, so the Rona really boosted your sales.
Yeah. Corona for us was a very good time because people couldn't go outside anymore, couldn't go out to dinner, couldn't go out to the movies, and people still want to spend their money, and they ended up spending it on cards and with us.
Yeah, I'm pretty guilty of this myself.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah. So what made you play Flesh and Blood then, or what was it that did you say I need to be a pro at this game?
In 2019, we stopped with Yu-Gi-Oh! And we picked up Dragon Ball. And that was a fun game. It still is, up to this date. But with no live events for that game, I wanted to look into something different because I've been doing that for a couple of years now as well. And I wanted to find something that is easy to get into, but difficult to master. And because Flesh and Blood, for me, a year ago we started. So Flesh and Blood, up until that time, only had 2 sets. So it wasn't massive to invest in it to get all the cards you needed, play all the decks you wanted. And we started running the Blitz events. And they're very easy and very fun to join.
Yeah.
It doesn't take an expensive deck. It doesn't take long times to play. It doesn't take long to learn the game. It's just, if you want to get better at it, the learning curve and the level of professionalism you can attain by this is less so based on RNG, what you draw, than it is in, for example, Dragon Ball, where I'm coming from.
Well, that's nice sales pitch for Flesh and Blood. It's a meme joke, so some locals will get it. But we're here to talk about Prism. I use this patent pending wheel technique, and it's just to funnel the conversation a bit, but also to actually, you can spam a deck list, but I think you'll fail miserably with it. If you,
we'll go back to that in a minute as well.
Yeah, you really need to feel something. And okay, getting started, find a deck list. You need some starting point. Choose your hero. In this case, it was Prism. And actually, we talked about it briefly. He had 3 RTNs back to back, and the first one, a plan. The second one, the other plan, and the third one was why we're here right now, because you went 9-0.
Yeah. The first RTN we had in Amsterdam, which was Friend and Foes, I basically ran a combination of aggro and auras built in, and focused more on siding into the auras than we did on going hyper aggressive. That got me a top 8 spot, so that was fun. But then as soon as you go versus Bolton, you just run out of gas so quickly because their damage, in comparison to the build I had then, I couldn't match it. So Joppa just outran me for damage and resource control and stuff like that.
This was tempo Bolton, by the way. This wasn't the combo, huh?
Yeah, it was tempo, so it wasn't the OTK version. Then, fast forward 1 week, we went to TCG in The Hague. I found a turtle or a tank Prism build, solely focused on creating spectral shields and auras and going that route. and I noticed that during the RTN there, I got my face smashed by basically everything that can do more than one attack each turn. So that wasn't the game plan either, because I was running auras against everything, and that is not the way forward. So what I decided to do is build a 52 card main deck, which is based on aggro, and then moving forward, you've got 8 slots, or versus some decks 11 slots, where you can side in whatever you need versus that matchup. And that went well.
Yeah, because actually I wrote it down here, who's the beatdown, but you're always having this, we'll eventually reach those cards, but you always have this this Herald plan, but switching gears and having a late game that's more oriented to auras or more oriented to
now you can go both ways, because what I'm going to explain a bit later on as well during the video is you've got the most useful heralds is 999, so you can smash their face in with those. They're at least 5 damage each. But then you've got the powerhouses of the deck, for example the erudition and stuff like that, which you'll not be using early on, which is quite funny, because yes, I am beatdown, but I'm using my quote-unquote less useful beatdown cards to get rid of your equipment.
Yeah.
And then when I need it most, I can smash your face with the cards that net me profit.
Yeah, and actually playing versus Prism is always at this point, and like, yeah, I can block this, but okay, he gets a shield, and it's annoying, but the eruditions are coming, so I need to keep some equipment back. But then you're being pushed into the situation where you have like 5 or 6 cards and so on. Like, that's not desirable as an opponent to Prism.
I still have a lot of people who do not block my entire attack. So they, for example, if I attack with the red war tune that's displayed here now, they block with 6 damage, thinking I've prevented 6 damage now, which is all fun. But as long as the herald hits my soul, the vestige triggers, the tome of divinity draws for free. Basically everything I want to do at that time nets me profit. So if I pitch a yellow, it pitches for free instead of 2. If I pitch a blue, it's 4. So moving forward with that, showing the Wartune Herald, that is the absolute monster of the deck. At first I was a bit hesitant, but this card itself, it is 1 pitch, and it starts with 5, 6, or 7 damage. Most of the times people will try and break this with Phantasm, and that's fine, because I can still use my boots to pay for the additional 1. I've not lost any cards in hand, because I'm always pitching at least a yellow to get the go again from Luminaras.
Yeah.
So you don't need the blue to get things going, which you do need if you use other heralds to attack with.
Yeah.
If I use a Triumph for protection, erudition, and I want to have the card at least moving forward get another attack, then I need a blue.
And this one needs a yellow, which suits very well
banger.
into the other plan. But
Yeah.
If we switch it up a bit and we move to the arrows, just also as a how do I execute my game plan, not so much as what's score, but how do I execute a game plan if your opponent is the beatdown.
Versus, for example, Guardian, aka Bravo, or Levia, or Reinar, you know for a certainty your heralds are not going to hit. They run so much 6+. They are going to Phantasm every card that you smash in their face.
Yeah.
So going the Aura way, while knowing that they can only attack once without having an energy potion or something, or a time snap potion or something like that, it is so crucial that they either have to choose to hit your face, for example, Levia attacks me for 6, or they attack an Aura and lose the rest of their turn. Yeah. It also means they don't draw additional cards, so they don't go through their deck quick enough. It is something that a lot of people seem to forget and underestimate, that if you stop an entire turn by just hitting an Aura, while it is good, it means I see at least 1 or 2 more cards in the game than you do.
just you're seeing more cards from your deck just because this guy is just keeping 2 cards in hand, breaking an aura, and
perhaps Arsenal something.
And most likely and most annoyingly is that they stopped 6 attack with or Phantasm one of your attacks. You dropped an aura, and then it's their turn, and they're also pressed for resources just because they used that 6 attack to break your aura, and of course swinging your Phantasmal attack, and then swinging back with their weapon into the Spectral. You just
it creates weird situations, because the Otiraf and the Merciful Retribution, along with the Genesis itself, in itself, it's not such a good card. But as soon as you start getting a bit more of them together, for example, Genesis with Otiraf or Otiraf with Merciful, that is where they start hurting a lot. So I don't mind if I have an aura face up. I don't mind blocking with 3 cards in hand if I still have a yellow to pitch for a shield. I really don't care.
Just because it does damage. And actually, with Merciful Red, you can kill your opponents, right? Didn't you? Levia, you killed the Levia.
Yeah. The Levia kept all of my auras alive, which was a Genesis on turn 5 or 6, I think. And because he did that, during every turn that I had, I put a Light Illusionist in my soul, get a token from that.
And
then I pitch a yellow for another token, so I've got 2 tokens.
Yeah.
If you pair that up with an Otiraf, your tokens hit for 2, your auras hit for 2, and you prevent 2 damage every turn. I don't mind having them die to just do it again the next turn.
And come again, how did you say that you generated just because... no.
With Genesis. He's not attacking into the Genesis. The Levia player, German guy, amazing player, very cool guy to speak with and to converse with. He had the game plan to just smash me down, because on turn 3 he did over 32 damage. I was on 8 life, but I was on 8 life for like 7 or 8 turns, as long as you don't kill that Genesis.
Yeah. Was it? Yeah, okay. So if we would have killed that Genesis earlier...
then I would have lost.
Yeah, okay. So disrespecting the Genesis, but then, of course, I can understand this mindset within them. I'm losing so much tempo if I attack into this Genesis.
It creates awkward situations where they either lose an entire turn killing 1 aura and running into the chance of me putting down another one, or just try and smash my face.
Yeah. Actually,
which in this case didn't work.
Yeah. Obviously, because you beat him in that round, but I switched up to the equipment pieces already just because of the vestige of soul situation, which we discussed.
Yeah.
You played over tunic always, or is it specific matches?
The vestige is basically main decked, except when you're playing against the 3 decks that I just stated as well. Bravo, Rhinar and Levia. Normally, I decided not to side it in versus the Levia because I was, by lack of better wording, sleep deprived, and I thought that Levia was Kano. Viserys, sorry. Which it wasn't. So, Arcane Gloves didn't do much.
Yeah, okay. What else you would have switched it up? So if it's a 6 attack, a high 6 attack class, you go for tunic.
Yeah. Because of the fact that your heralds, the chance of them hitting is like 5%, so it's not worth using it.
So vestige of soul is if your heralds are gonna hit. Vestige of soul will generate way more resources.
Yeah.
Throughout the game. Okay.
And then the Arcanite Skullcap is always.
The Halo versus Skullcap. You go.
Yeah, I don't like the Halo.
You go. Ran away.
The Halo. Yeah, every Prism player I've spoken to so far is running the Halo, and I hate that card. It costs a pitch to use its effect, costs a card to get into the soul, and then it only draws you another card and has charged your soul. So it doesn't give you a shield. It costs you 1 to use, Basically meaning I need to pitch more if I want to attack with something, because if I use a blue, then I don't have go again, so that doesn't work. It's not good.
Only
At least
works with
not for this.
Yeah. And just skullcap, it's plain and easy, more life.
Plus, it's MVP versus Katsu. Don't underestimate that card versus Katsu. Poke with Kirachi. Poke with the second one. Sure, I'll block with Skullcap. Your mask isn't live. Have fun. So many people ran into that.
Yeah, because the rest of your equipment just doesn't block right. Vestige.
The Phantasmal Footsteps blocks a lot.
Okay.
Versus Chain, that's MVP.
Actually, yeah, it has this clause where it says if it's not a Phantasmal attack, you can pay, and then you actually use that ability. There's
a lot
additional text on the slippers. This is how bad I'm at
Ask Yael. She hates that card.
Yeah,
Yael was a Chain player I had to face. During her turn, she did Dreamweavers, which had, she did Vexing Malice, which had go again.
Mm-hmm.
And I pitched a yellow one, used my Null Rune Gloves to block an Arcane, used my Phantasmal Footsteps to block an initial damage. So I used one card, blocked 2 forms of damage.
Yeah, it's the fact that it's repeatable, that you pitch for it.
Yeah,
that adds value, and especially with all those seeds, so there's always one random arcane.
If I'm to pitch a blue, for example, and use Phantasmal Footsteps, I still have 2 floating for a Soul Shield.
Yeah. There's additional text. Read your cards, kids. I don't know what. You talk about your Prism opponent who said, "Oh, Vestige. Oh, it's the entire turn." So
yeah, that was round 2. I had a mirror match. I've got quite a bit of experience because one of my players also runs Prism.
Yeah.
He stated my opponent stated at round 2. I've sided out my library. I've sided out a lot of yellow cards, and he went for the turtle build. So he started siding in Sink Belows, Fate Foreseens, weird stuff like that, just to prevent me from hitting into my soul. But because of the fact that I keep having 2 attacks and he doesn't, because he uses his cards to defend, and I use them aggressively, there's no shot that he can pressure me enough to lose cards.
Yeah, we'll actually get to that in a bit, because what's the core? It's just the heralds. We've ordered them in Wartune Herald because it costs 1 and you can use their
absolute MVP
slippers. To if they get broken, you can slipper, and else you just have more resources.
Yep. Now you've got the protection, which if it hits, it creates a shield. And based on that, you would think protection and ravages do basically the same. But the fact that the protection also creates the token that prevents damage on my end, if you combine that with the fact that it can attack, and if you combine that with the fact if you have an Outer Wrath or a Merciful Retribution, it does more than the ravages would ever do.
Yeah.
And then the Triumph. Just -1, and then the one that never hits at the early game, Erudition.
Yeah. So pitch this early.
Yep, I did.
Yeah. And then when
use this when their equipment is broken. Yeah. If not, they're using it. They're going to use their equipment.
Yeah. Just so whatever. If Skullcap still hasn't blocked, pitch it.
Yeah. The same for Husk, because every Chain player will gladly throw in their Husk just to prevent this from hitting.
Yeah, like whatever, and
yeah.
But the actual MVP is
library.
Yeah.
Do not play this deck if you do not have access to a library. So many matches where you win based on this card. Yeah. The dash matchups that I had, the Azaleas, especially the Katsus. Because Katsu does so much more than I do early game. And then as soon as this is live, I'm not going to lose to tempo to them. I'm never, ever taking damage if I have 5 cards in hand.
I had an opponent who had it live on turn 2, and he was like, "No, I only drew 2 cards, maybe off." I said, 2, dude. It was 3, and it's terrible. And if they have a card in Arsenal, you're looking at a 6-card hand, and if you're just throwing some fluff at anybody, and then you're like, oh, and you're most likely throwing fluff at them because you blocked 2.
Yeah.
And
The other player that we've got, Jim, he had a game round, I think 2 or 3, where he was versus a Katsu. And turn 1, he just did library. He just did Herald into library, pass, and then have fun. So there's no shot.
no
matter how good you are as a Katsu player.
That's basically, yeah, maybe if you can destroy it right away, you're in it, but that's
then
a
you're throwing
hill.
away a turn.
Yeah, I know, but it's a steep hill from there.
Yeah.
So if we're going turtle, that's the aura control build.
Yeah.
This is
basically what we've been doing is you're missing one, which we will come back to later. But if you look at the auras which are important, you've got No to Wrath. A lot of people underestimate O to Wrath, but if you've played Prism long enough, you know that the 1 additional damage per damage source is insane. Every aura attacks for 1 plus an additional 1.
Yeah, those evil Kodachis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your Kodachis are 1. My Kodachis are 2.
I'm Ira, but in classic constructed.
Just ask my my opponent James. He ran into a lot of them, and then the one I always main deck is Merciful Retribution, because of the simple fact that I have this in the main deck. If they're at 1 life and I have a shield up, you always have to worry.
Yeah.
If I drop this, or you're on 2, and you attack my last shield, then there is no shot that you're winning this. At all.
Does it stack the way that it does? It stack if they have lethal, this resolves first?
No. I had the situation versus Sebastian in top 8, where I had 2 spectral shield tokens, and he attacked with something for 5 which had dominate. I had Merciful Retry in hand, together with 3 other yellows. So pitch 2 yellow, drop Merciful Retry, block with a 3. Then his attack for 5 does 2 damage, destroying 2 shields. And he takes 2, I take 0, he dies, I don't.
Yeah, but if he goes over that, you know what? That's a video for Judge Joost.
No, if he does damage, if he, for example, attacks me for 10 and I only have 2 shields, then I die first.
Yeah, okay. Why it works that way, that's for another video. But yeah, at least you can kill people. It's like the shunt in the Warrior Mirror, where you do shunt.
I did this versus the Levia player the last round, the Swiss.
Yeah. It's a killer.
And it stacks with Ode.
Yeah. So that's 3 damage, right?
Yeah, it's nasty.
Whenever an aura attack, oh, that's brutal, man.
Yeah.
I don't like playing against it. I don't. You always bitch about Boltwin.
Then you
bitch
one
about
for the Merciful Retry and you take 1 for the O to Wrath. And it is a continuous loop. So if I've got 5 shields and you do 5 damage, then I don't take the 5 damage, but you take 10.
Yeah, I don't like Prism.
That starts hurting. It starts adding up.
I postponed this video for so long, but at one point we have to do it. Yeah. What's in the side, and the interesting take about it's got to be 90% yellow. If you side in red card needs to go out.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ratios as I had them in the deck were basically so tight. I had a 52 card main deck and wanted to swap out 8 cards at the maximum, except versus Chain and versus Katsu, because the Judgment would come in, but also the Arclight Sentinel would come in. And then the Tenacity one, so the one with 5 attack dominate, would go out instead of the Judgments. But basically my go-to cards to side in were Plunder, Judgment, and the Yellow Rebirth, because you want yellow and you want Heralds.
Yeah, and the Plunder run is for your aggro plan, right?
The Plunder run was a very fun thing. Everybody, up until the first 2 RTNs, I, together with my teammate, were running Pummels.
Yeah.
But the fact that Pummel cost 2, and it only loses them 1 card, I was meh. I'd prefer to have an additional attack for 5, 6, or 7 than do 1 card from their hand, because that 5, 6, or 7 attack would do something similar. And then the Plunder run, if you do that on a card that has 5 attack, which I've just stated to you in the pre-interview as well,
Yeah.
it turns them from a 2-block card into a 3-block card.
Or you get to draw a card, and Prism with 5 cards is just ugly.
Yeah. Because if that hits, it goes into the soul, Vestige is live, Totem is live, you start feeling the pain.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the true bring in the pain. So to bring it to a rounding end, always important. Just this is my go-to match. Be gracious in defeat and humble in victory. Actually had a big shout out. Everybody was throwing out the love in our WhatsApp group with some 60 to 70 players in it.
Yeah,
it's always 100 messages if you leave your phone off for a bit. But it's what makes this community great, so I have to repeat it. Just be a nice opponent, and if you win, just be chill about it and give somebody time to blow off the steam from his bad beat. And in the end, you can actually learn, hey, why didn't you detect the Genesis? Or, dang, I really love your build. Those plunders were amazing, and you can actually learn something. And then your opponent can explain why he runs a certain card because the plunder run over Pommel Aggro. I like it. It's only a sideboard card, but it makes
a huge difference.
Yeah.
Plus, I like the fact that what you said as well. Go start building your own version of your favorite hero. My second road to Nationals was the worst experience in a tournament I had in a long time, and I net decked 100% a deck. I had no experience running it. I most likely piloted it wrong. When you go back to Old Faithful, to your bread and butter, to what you like, what you know, and especially in Flesh and Blood, what is your meta? I don't run into a lot of Bravos. I don't run into a lot of normally Azaleas, which for some reason I faced 3 of in the last Road to Nationals that I won. And I don't, for some reason, don't run into a lot of chains.
Nope.
So my build will differ from people who have a very chain-heavy meta.
So yeah, but having a game plan and saying we can switch auras gears to auras or not auras, but the main plan should be what's Prism good at? Dish out 14 damage a turn. How do you do that with plentiful yellows? And how do I switch out, and what's important? What are the deck building constraints? In this case, it's keep the yellow count high. And
just make sure what your card do, and make sure you test enough versus your opponent's decks to know what you should be scared of as well.
Yeah.
My lack of Azalea knowledge nearly cost me top 8. And my knowledge of the Katsu game won me the finals.
Yeah, because you knew going in what you needed to do.
Yeah, you know what to stop, you know what to expect. Especially you know what to expect versus Katsu. And knowing the fact that they're banking on their Mask of Momentum to hit, to then chain it on their Katsu effect. Making sure that you've got the Arcanite Skullcap to block the second Kodachi, ruining their turn, basically, is such an effective way to stop your opponent from doing their game plan and making sure you can do yours.
Yeah. So, you heard it here first. Build your own version of your favorite hero. Listen to videos like these. Find stuff online. Read about it. Chat with your friends. But in the end, make your own version. And that's what Flesh and Blood is about. Once you get in love with your favorite hero, this game is the best TCG I've played. I've only played 2, but you got some more experience, right?
Yeah, I've done Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Vanguard, DBS, Huntic, Magic the Gathering, and then this. And Dragon Ball Super somewhere.
And how are you rating Flesh and Blood so far?
10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10. See you guys next time. Thank you very much, René. Cheers.
You're welcome.